think this is going to be live. Okay, we're live on Policy Sub.
We don't have, Mike is not here. He had an emergency. Do you want me to just do a show?
Sure.
All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. It is 6:02. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next up, discuss a possible vote to update policies that have been updated from the MASC reference manual. I have this policy newsletter here. This is from March 2023. And
This one will guide you through it when it gets around.
yeah, okay, so that's what I'm waiting for.
Mary, can you push the file?
Sorry.
Second item down.
If you want to start with the one we
No,
held
the
over.
memo, there's a memo below that.
Yeah, that was the
Procurement one.
procurement one.
Karen, are you talking about this one?
That's,
Yes.
Yes, that's the one that John's referring to.
that's the memorandum.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
They got that one.
And Aaron, do we have a copy of your version of it?
It was in there, yep, it was in there.
One more thing to go around.
Thank you.
Do you want me to explain it?
Why don't we just let it come around?
We'll come around and then we can talk about it. And
Yep.
that's what you suggested we put.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, perfect. So why don't we're going to skip down to item 4 so that we can have Aaron talk about the regional school district procurement requirements. He's got a draft policy that he's already written, and then we can get him out of here.
So this differs somewhat from the MASC policy. MASC basically lines out the current legal amounts. So the quote, up to 10,000 you can use sound business practices. Up to 100,000 now you get 3 quotes. Beyond 100,000 you need to put it out to bid. What I'm suggesting, and that's what the current law says, what I'm suggesting is basically, I changed this slightly to just say that we're going to follow current law. Law may change again, so the law changed over a year ago now, and our current policy, because it has those actual limits in there, we don't have the flexibility to do what the law allows us to do. What we'd like is the flexibility to do what the law allows us to do. And so this contains all of the other language that the MASC policy has, but it also references law. The other reality is there are actually 3 major procurement laws. Only MASC only touches on Chapter 30B. So there's Chapter 7 and 149, which are 2 somewhat construction-driven ones. So by making it more general, we can use all of those without worrying if they change any one of the 3.
Right.
We don't have to worry about the applicability of the policy versus the law. If you go through, I've gone through the other school districts, so MASC hosts all of the other school districts. Many of the other school districts do something like this. Probably half of them still use the standard MASC policy, but about half of them get rid of the actual amounts. So what my recommendation would be to do it to follow the law as opposed to set the amounts.
Do you have an example for us of the people who changed it to just follow the law?
Of the what?
Of the school districts that are using their own just follow the law type of thing?
I could tell you, I think it's, I could look for some. Watertown, I think, is where I took some of this language from. And that one goes back to 2022, right around when they changed the law. But I didn't pull up other samples. goals.
From a policy perspective, though, it seems very smart, so that we're not continually going back and revising our policy because the limits change on what the state sets for, for bidding procedures, for procurement procedures. So,
Right.
I mean, anything that we can do to make the policy manual sort of more flexible and malleable, certainly I think would be of benefit to us. Because they may be talking about in another year, oh, you gotta change the limits again, because the law
No,
changed.
I agree with that, I just think it would be nice for the committee to see what the
I could pull a
language will
sample of
be.
another districts. I
I'm sure
used
it's
some
not
of the language, I
huge.
think it was Watertown to put this together,
Okay,
because I could pull that.
thank you.
I will say, Northampton, I thought I just checked, Northampton did a similar thing. We weren't as wise to know that there were all three, the language in Northampton just says we'll comply with 30B.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
you're just like a single line?
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
Ouch. So, yeah, so if you've got
Right.
those two, so if you.
And by
incorporate
saying
those-
you said just 30B, so 30B limits you to using just 30B. Now, I'm guessing because they're a municipal district, the town does most of their construction
That's
work.
correct.
So we have to be broader and we have to include the potential that we could use the construction limits as well.
So are we okay with bringing this up for first read, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Okay. Your work here is done. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Aaron.
Yep.
Good day.
Have a good night.
All right, so if I can just clean up something that we talked about at the general meeting. There was a policy that I had asked that get sent back down, it was with regards to public involvement. So I did have the opportunity to talk with Glenn Kuchar, and Glenn had told me that there are several areas where we talk about, like public comment, et cetera, where, they didn't specifically write it in the policy, in the policy newsletter, like they do in the policy newsletter, like they'll say, added as part of the review, they didn't have it in there. But when I talked to him about it, he said that it was covered in various different areas. And that, the idea of having public involvement in education was sort of the thing that ran strategic plans, school improvement plans, every different facet of what we're doing, so they thought the policy was a bit superfluous. And so after talking to him about it, and Glenn's just a wealth of information, and he said, it's just one more policy that you don't need.
So do you feel okay with that?
I do, yeah, I feel fine with that.
What's the number of that policy? No
That-
letter?
That's one of the ones that's on, will be on for third reading.
It was DJA.
Okay.
I gotta go back to the previous meeting.
DJE,
DJA,
Regional School District Procurement?
No,
the
no, that's-
Procurement.
hold on, let me go back to my Google Drive for, last meeting.
I think it's KCB, Community Involvement and Decision Making.
That's the one.
Okay, thank you.
So that one will come up for, we kept that on the agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that'll be on the agenda, so then we can just get rid of that. Okay. All right, shall we hammer away on number 3?
Sure.
All right, so policy AA, regional school district legal status. Added to serve as policy AA for regional school districts, policy AA.
So in this memo, you'll find my recommendations.
We do not have, in its place, we have our regional agreement as pertains to municipal districts. I advise no change, so,
So I think AA should be the place where we keep our regional agreement.
yeah, okay, yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
AA1, regional school district legal status. And then you had C, adopted draft. And that would have been draft, the people in their school district. No, regional school district legal status.
The only difference between this and the proposed language from MASC is I inserted Wilbraham Regional School District.
Mhm. Cheryl?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Status.
Okay. So we're good with, we're good with that?
AA1 will have the legal status.
Yeah.
So AA is gonna be our regional agreement,
Yeah.
AA1 will be just as written, we can send that forward.
Yep.
Next is AB, the people in their school district. So this was,
That one's identical to the language in our current policy, so,
there's no change.
yeah, my only recommendation would be to update the adoption date or the approval date, so that we can show the public that we're continuing to look at this and
Yep.
update as
Alright, so
necessary.
that hasn't been changed, so,
Right.
alright. So we can send that one as well, Cheryl?
Yep.
Number 4, AC, non-discrimination. It may take a few minutes for us to go through.
Mhm.
Changes that are highlighted, these are the changes that MASC had
Correct, so
suggested.
anything that's in the strike-through is from your current policy that
Yeah.
would not be part of the new one if we adopt the language, and anything that's in yellow is new from MASC.
Can you give me a little bit of insight into the word retaliation is used twice, and I guess I'm just looking for, I think a little more. It says, it shall be a violation of this policy for any member of the school community to engage in any form of discrimination, including harassment and retaliation, or to violate any other civil right of any other member of the school committee. So when we talk about retaliation, it's a pretty broad term. So what if you have an individual who's in a protected class who violates this policy? I guess I'm just looking for.
So, I think you're talking about two different things.
We talk about retaliation,
Right.
so if it's something that, if they want to use discriminatory bias as a form of retaliation, is that what we're?
In your non-discrimination policies, retaliation is typically understood as someone makes a claim against you that you've discriminated against me, and then because the claim was filed, there's some kind of retaliation against the person. So it's basically meant to protect someone who's bringing a complaint or grievance forward from any kind of an adverse act until we figure out whether or not they were discriminated against. So a classic example would be, let's say, a woman who alleges discrimination on the basis of sex, and then shortly thereafter, the supervisor she's accusing puts her in a much less desirable position. That would be sort of the classic example of retaliation.
I don't have a problem with using that word. I think it's to the point.
I feel like I'm not getting at something in your question.
No, when I think about stuff like this, I just think of, I think of all, they have all potential interpretations, because like I said, retaliation is a big word. So let's take, for example, you have an individual who is in the school district who identifies as homosexual, and they accuse another faculty member of, let's say, being discriminatory against them based on their sexual orientation. And let's say that this person may have a similar claim against them. So would it be considered retaliatory for them to essentially foist the same charge back, to say, well, you know, you claim that I'm discriminating against you because you're homosexual. I think you're discriminating against me because I'm heterosexual. I'm just using this as a broad example. Would that be considered retaliatory?
I would say no, because very often there are cross claims and things we're investigating. Both sides have claims against the other side.
Mm-hmm.
What's retaliation is usually if you have some kind of a position of power or authority, and you're able to cause something to happen on the basis of the complaint that someone brought forward in order to sort of punish them for making the complaint.
Right, but it's not listed here. So the question that I have is that if you did, like the example that I just gave you, then if you had an individual who believed that they had a legitimate claim that they thought their rights were being violated, or let's say the reverse, right? So let's say it's, a heterosexual teacher accuses a homosexual teacher of discriminating against them because of bias. Let's say one is the chair of the department, one is a teacher, and the teacher then turns around and makes that claim back. The word retaliation is pretty broad. So you could say, in essence, that the person who makes the counterclaim is doing so in a retaliatory fashion. Retaliate is to basically respond to the action of another.
So the question there would be then, was it done in good faith? You know, was there evidence of it? Or was it just completely concocted as a way to try to sort of get back at the person who made the complaint? But one of the things I'm thinking is there is a law dictionary that defines terms that are commonly used. Maybe having some kind of a footnote to that. I'm going to try to look up what retaliation means from a legal perspective.
But from a legal perspective, can you even claim if it's an unprotected class,
I don't know. I don't know. But again, if we're setting policy, right? And policy is extremely important because it basically dictates the culture of the district. And so I just as I look at something like this, and I see the word retaliatory to me, it's just a very broad term. I understand the word harassment. When we get down and we talk about, to violate any other civil rights of any other members of the school committee, but again, it's, not limited to coercion, intimidation, interference, punishment, discrimination, harassment. So I just want to make sure that we have a clear idea of what it is that this policy is trying to achieve. Certainly will protect the people that we are concerned about potentially being the targets of discrimination. However, we don't want to unfairly bias the policy so that it potentially infringes upon the rights of those who are the accused of being non-discriminatory. And like I said, you turn around and you say, no, that's not, this person said this, and actually this is what I believe. Could that be termed retaliatory? And now, based on our policy, we're saying
So just looking up from the Legal Information Institute, retaliation is punishment of an employee by an employer for engaging in a legally protected activity.
But you may not have, I would say that's overly specific, because if you have let's say you have a teacher, say you have let's say you have a department head and a teacher, so, or you have a teacher and a student. So that's overly specific.
But I think the key part is that it's punishment for engaging in a protected activity. So making a cross-claim is not a punishment. It's just saying, I've got something against this other person that I need to have investigated too.
Can we get Sean's input on this? Just to, I'm just a little bit, I just wanna make sure if we're gonna come up with a policy about discrimination, that we have a policy that, you know, is, I know the MASC has their recommendations, but I would also like to make sure that we are clearly defining the terms that we're using in here. Like I said, retaliatory is one of, it's, like, when I read it, it's in there a few times. And, you know, we can talk about retaliation as, you know, as a number of different potentials, but.
If that's what the subcommittee wants, we definitely can do that. I would say Katie though, because we usually use Katie for the policies.
Okay.
And Sean for the.
All right, yes, okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the word, but I'll defer. Yeah. One question I do have though is in about 2/3 of the way down in the first colored paragraph, genetic information. What are we talking there?
So that means that I have information somehow as an employer, it's usually an employer, that this employee may be predisposed to some kind of a disabling condition, and therefore I don't want to hire them because I think they may have a lot of sick days. That would be
Okay.
disability or discrimination basis.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, Fragile X syndrome, something like that, where you know cognitive ability might be impaired.
So I will ask Katie to take a look at the retaliation language in this one,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
Sorry, I don't mean to be a pain.
Okay.
Just doing the same thing. I was saying, as I read the title, non-discrimination policy including harassment and retaliation.
ECR.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, like I said, I just wanna know that we all have a standard definition. I know what harassment is, but retaliation. Maybe if we add something in there with regards to what actually, are we defining retaliation as an act of a person in a position of authority over a person in a position in less authority.
You know, before we wordsmith this, I feel more comfortable just giving it to the.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and.
I agree, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything with it, I want.
Back to us,
I would like
Yeah.
her to take a look at that.
because we can go down some
Yep.
roads.
No, that's fine. I would.
So from my conversations with her, would a possible solution be to embed within ACR a definition of retaliation, because they go over discrimination and harassment, and then Title IX sexual harassment, maybe another paragraph that says what retaliation means, which would then be applicable to the other policy as well.
That makes sense.
Yes, if she chooses to do that, if she thinks that would be a way to go about doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
See, I don't mind retaliation because I think it's really a clear word. The practice is reasonably believed to be prohibited. Reasonably drives me up a wall.
Mhm.
Reason is in the eye of the beholder.
Mhm.
Right. But again, my fear is that as we create policy, and we create a policy that is specifically designed to protect certain groups of people, that you may be, by definition, opening up, potential avenues of the people who are being accused, them themselves being accused of retaliatory behavior. I just wanna make sure that we understand that, and I know what you're saying, John, it's not listed there though.
Mhm.
And so, if it says retaliatory and all of a sudden, let's say somebody, says something to somebody else, right? I mean, based on this policy, you could say, well, he was just retaliating against me, which means he violated our district's policy. So we don't have I know you you live it, right? But based on the reading of the policy, like, I don't see retaliation as being clearly defined. So
You wanna see it in black and white?
I wanna see something that says, this is what retaliation would look like. It is a superior, a person in a position of power or authority exercising their right, abusing their privilege of authority in order to, to punish, for an accuser or whatever, but that would make me feel better.
Okay.
All right, next is policy ACA, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. So the only thing that was added was sexual orientation or gender identity
And the reference.
and the reference. And that's US government, that's US code, right?
US DOE.
DOE,
Yeah,
so there's
so
really.
it's administrative law.
Yeah, nothing to do about it. All right,
Mhm.
so we'll send that one up, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Next we have AD mission statement. No changes to that, we just need to.
Actually, you don't have that one?
Oh, we don't have that?
No.
Oh,
So
this is new?
It's a placeholder policy, so I just
Oh,
put
no,
it
it's in
in,
the draft, okay.
I just put in the mission from the strategic plan. I think that's the only version of this I've been able to find.
Oh, great. That's probably the most up-to-date mission, the mission statement is the mission statement from the strategic plan. I think that would be the most applicable. Okay.
Cheryl?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right, next is ADC tobacco-free policy. Use of any tobacco products, and then there's a bunch of strikeouts. This is including but not limited to cigarettes, cigars, little cigars, chewing tobacco, pipe tobacco, snuff, electronic cigarettes, electronic cigars, electronic pipes, or other similar products that rely on vaporization or aerosolization within the school buildings.
Pretty clear.
Mhm.
Vaporization or aerosolization of nicotine
Mhm.
or other substances.
This one,
This is tobacco specific, so,
right,
because you're aerosolizing, so you're vaporizing or aerosolizing nicotine, so I would probably put nicotine somewhere in there.
what's this tobacco free? Oh,
Tobacco-free that's the tobacco-free policy, but, what you're putting is, nicotine into those. So if we add, that rely on the vaporization or aerosolization of nicotine,
okay.
then,
Got it.
and then, cannabis, that's all covered under drug policy, correct?
Correct.
I would feel better about that if we put tobacco/nicotine as the heading. Two,
Because some.
You don't vaporize or aerosolize tobacco though. When you're putting the fluid into those, it's nicotine. So you're just aerosolizing it, you're not putting tobacco in. So we're talking about,
you are
No.
putting tobacco And when you're smoking,
Right,
Cigarettes.
but it says including not limited to cigarettes. So we go through all of the other stuff that eliminates cigarettes, cigars, little cigars, chewing tobacco, pipe tobacco, snuff, electronic cigarettes, electronic cigars, electronic pipes, other similar products that rely on the vaporization or aerosolization of so vaporization or aerosolization refers specifically to electronic products. If you wanted to talk about smoking, then you're talking about combustion.
actually it has chewing tobacco there.
Yep.
Smoke.
It's got everything, everything's there,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of,
I guess it's what we're talking about is what constitutes tobacco-free.
tobacco-free to me is tobacco-free or, eliminating the addictive substance within the tobacco, which is the nicotine. So what's the ultimate goal of the policy? The ultimate goal of the policy is to keep kids free from nicotine, right? The addiction to nicotine. And we do that by creating a tobacco-free policy.
Okay.
So that's all the new ones. I would just point out that there's one I'm recommending we don't change, and that is, let's see,
How about, hey Cheryl,
ACAB?
ACAB, because we just did this one last year, and Katie came to like 2 or 3 of these meetings.
okay,
You remember that, Cheryl? We
No.
had Katie at a couple of these meetings last year,
Yeah.
working on ACAB, so I think that's good. I don't think we have to
ACAB.
redo that. Do you want this?
yeah, I don't wanna, you write it down, because I don't wanna contaminate your pen and then know you're wearing a mask, so.
Oh, I'm just doing that
John,
because
what
my
was
wife's afraid I'm gonna get sick for the holidays.
Okay, alright,
John,
So-
what was the letter I couldn't hear you through your mask?
ACAB.
ACAB.
so what if we did,
Yes, yeah.
so sure, what if we did, so including but not limited to cigarettes, cigars, little cigars, chewing tobacco, pipe tobacco, snuff, electronic cigarettes, electronic cigars, electronic pipes, or any other products that may rely on the combustion, vaporization, or aerosolization of nicotine. So that way we've basically covered
Yeah.
all of this stuff, but if there's a term, if all of a sudden they start calling them little cigarettes, well, we didn't specifically say little cigarettes in here, but if we say any other products that rely on the combustion, vaporization, or aerosolization of tobacco/nicotine,
Sounds good.
then that will
I think
basically,
it's very clear.
that will basically cover the entire spectrum, so that if any technology changes.
Because I just know parents going through and looking at, you know, the beginning of the year in the handbook, they're gonna see tobacco-free and think, oh, well, you can go vape.
Yes.
Well, what's awful is that the technology changed so rapidly through generations that parents just missed it.
Yeah.
You know, and there was stuff that, kids were getting stuff online, you know, and basically online retailers were essentially selling this stuff to underage kids, and all they had to do was just click a box.
Yeah.
And they would buy it online. And, you know, even like I talked to some patients, you know, about, you know, they have a nicotine addiction, let's say they're having, you know, something done surgically. Well, the nicotine isn't really the big problem, it's the carbon monoxide in the smoke when they smoke that's huge, because it reduces your oxygen carrying capacity. So I will sometimes say to them, like, you know, we may want to switch out, if I could put you on some nicotine patches, that would be helpful. Gum, obviously not, because it's oral surgery, but nicotine patches, or, you know, you may want to consider using, you know, a vape for a period of time to sort of bridge the gap before you can start smoking again. Or you can stop smoking altogether, it'd be perfect, but, and most of the people that I talk to about that, you know, 50s, 60s, no idea. No idea what it is. You know, and like, you know, I know something about it just because of you know, being on the school committee and, you know, knowing kids, my kids don't do it, but it really is interesting that the technology just, it completely skipped over a generation. And so kids are literally doing things that their parents don't even really know is bad for them. You know, and they see them with those little vague things like, oh, it's just a battery powered thing, they're just blowing out water vapor, not a big deal. So, it's a, you know, it's definitely an issue, and the numbers were shocking. When we looked at the, youth risk behavior survey.
Yes. It's gone from something to get people off of cigarettes to the vehicle that gets them hooked on them.
Yes, and it actually, and much sooner, and it's done in a much more furtive way. So I mean, you can have kids that are literally, and for a lot of kids that do it, it's not so much addiction as it is just the challenge of doing it in a place like a school. You know, just to see if I can get away with it. It's not really they're hooked on it, but they just want to see if they can do it. And then before you know it, you're hooked on it.
Yep.
So, all right, so with those changes, Cheryl, we can send that one up as well?
Absolutely.
That's all we have. You get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Wait, before we do that, do you want to set up another meeting?
Sure. Or do we want to, yeah, we can set up another meeting.
All right. Are Mondays okay?
Yeah, I was just thinking of checking in with the chair.
Yeah, okay, we can run it by him.
Yeah,
If you want to set something up, and then if he doesn't like it, we can change it.
Yeah.
While we're here.
it's fine.
I already had a meeting, so Monday nights are okay for me, just, it's a pain coming from Westfield, but, if we did,
We did December 11th.
December 11th, we had December 11th? That'll take us after the holiday,
Yeah, that sounds good.
so we'll do same thing, 6 PM. So we'll do technology at 5, do another doubleheader. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6:40.
Thank you
All
for,
right.
Thank you.
thank you, John, for making all of this very easy to
You're
get
welcome.
through.
You're welcome.